Jeez Louise, man. What the hell? You weren't looking like that a second ago. Throw me off my game.
I'm sorry.
I just missed my intro now, Dave. Cheers. I'm going to have to do it now. Good morning, good evening, or good night. Whatever. Hope you guys are doing well, and welcome to episode 5 of the Forest Forum with these crazy mob that I have with me today. Guys in the chat, hope you're well. Please do hit the like button, subscribe if you're new. There's a link to every single one of these beauties in the description, either their Twitter or their YouTube. So please go follow them on whatever platform they're on. That's your homework for today. Let's start by saying some highs to the guys. I'm going to add a little question just to make it a little spicy. I want to know what your favorite film is. Just completely off topic and random. Let the viewers get to know our panel tonight. So Wazza, how are you doing, and what's your favorite film, mate?
I'm doing very well. Obviously still buzzing from the result of the weekend. And if you're going to start talking about films, I could probably just fill the next 3 hours on my own without any panel. If I was to pick one, I'd find it extremely difficult. But I'd say my top 3 are The Godfather, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and Vertigo. I'm old school.
Okay, The Good, the Bad, and the Ants. I like it. Okay. Dave, how are you? Oh, I think it's Dave behind there.
Can I just say, gentlemen, it was suggested after my appearances on Radz's vlog at the weekend that my face was not up to scratch and that a mask might not go amiss. So I do take these things to heart, and I care for the welfare and mental well-being of my adoring public. So I've taken steps. My favourite band in the world are Slipknot, as you may guess. My favourite film of all time, and I'm with Warren, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, because I think it sums up my personality.
Do you know what? I'm hoping Rads is with me here. I ain't seen it, Rads. I ain't seen it. So I'm attaching myself, being the middle of the age group here. I'm gonna attach and hold on to Rads, man. Forrest and my boy, how are you doing, matey?
I'm all right, thank you. I've got a favorite. I always quote this as my favorite film. I don't actually know if it really is my favorite film, but I always quote it as my favorite film, and it's The Man Who Fell to Earth.
Rads, I'm looking your way again.
Hello.
No, don't. Before, have you ever heard of that?
No, I haven't.
Is it black and white, Ant?
No, David Bowie.
Nicholas Roeg.
David Bowie.
Nick Roeg directed it. Louise Fletcher, Rip Torn.
Well, I've got the evening to myself. Maybe I'll see if.
It's a very unusual film. It's very good.
Okay.
I
expect nothing less from you. And then finally, before we jump into Rads, guys, just for a bit of fun, because we're all in great moods.
It's actually Deep Throat, but carry on.
We're all in great moods. Let me know what your favorite film is in the chat.
Hey, Dave.
What?
Shall I put the mask back on?
No, you're beautiful.
Jeez, man, Halloween a bit early there, Dave.
You're beautiful, man.
It's beginning to rub me nose.
Rads, give me a more recent times film, man, because this is going downhill very fast.
I don't watch that many films, really. So I find it difficult to name one.
I believe in miracles.
I was literally about to say that. We'll stay topical. Why not? We'll just say that.
I thought he was my favorite documentary or something.
That should be all our favorite.
Exactly.
That is a good film. My personal, I have 2. Yeah, Dumb and Dumber. I'm serious. I'm one.
Yeah, I'm gonna go at me and you again, Dave.
And Shawshank.
Yeah,
Shawshank. Brilliant. Yeah.
Shawshank. Yeah, I'll bring it back.
Shawshanks are good. Yeah, I'll give you that.
Shawshank's good. All right, boys, let's get serious. Well, let's get as serious as we're gonna get between the lot of us today. We've got a lot of topics to cover off, and the first one I want to talk about is the thoughts on the performance. But really, I mean, most of us have had a chat this week, talks about the performance. We've talked with the guys in the fan forum and everything. So I want to dive a little deeper into the question to start with. And I want to talk about, have we turned a corner or not? Have we? Is it too early to say, or were there enough signs there for you to think there was a corner being turned? We'll just go around the clock here. Wazza, you want to kick us off with that question? Give us a quick summary of thoughts on the performance, and then take that question away as well.
I thought the performance was first class. I thought probably the best so far this season. Everyone, and I mean everyone, played so well on Saturday. Everyone played for the Garibaldi, everyone played for the badge. Have we turned the corner? I'm hoping we have. I'm not being pessimistic, and I don't want to take any shine away from the win, because we all
you say what's on your mind, mate. Yeah.
But I just want to temper expectations, and I do believe it, and I can hear an echo coming on. Is that me again?
Oh, you're good. You're paranoid.
I don't want to, like I say, not take shine off it. I'm saying let's temper expectations. That's not being pessimistic, it's being realistic. It's the first winning 10 game. But if we continue to perform to that level and the players put in that performance week in, week out, I think we are going to start seeing a big improvement.
Yeah, but it's fine to say that. I don't see that as a pessimistic approach. I see it as a cautious approach.
No, I don't want people to think I'm, dismissing the victory at the weekend, because I'm old school. You know, I'm not quite as old as a couple of guys on the panel, but I'm getting there. And I remember the days when I was young. Yeah, he's sitting there. We all know he's coming on his Zimmer frame, don't we? But I grew up watching Forest in the late 70s, and Liverpool at that point were our biggest rivals, as I'm sure Dave and will testify to. So I've got that history. I don't think sometimes some of the younger fans who haven't grown up watching us play Liverpool understand what it means to some of the older fans in a way.
Yeah.
So I don't want to take any shine off that result. All I'm saying is let's not do the typical Forest thing, saying, we're brilliant now because we've had one good performance. Let's keep trying to build on it and keep trying to improve.
I think that's a fair, balanced approach. Dave, any differing thoughts on the game, and where are you on the corner turning question?
I echo what Warren says. I think my sense is that while Saturday was absolutely fantastic and a terrific performance, not a technically great performance, but certainly committed and tigerish and united and attitudinal, absolutely superb. But like Warren, I don't want to kind of think, the last 25 minutes of Brighton and then 90 against Liverpool were fantastic, and then go to the league leaders who are in good form, get turned over, and for us to be back at square one. What I would say, though, I definitely think there's a gradual morphing of 22 strangers into something that's coalescing, if you like. I definitely think that an 11 or a 16 or a 17 is beginning to emerge. And I kind of saw that. I thought the last 20-25 minutes of Brighton last Tuesday night were the subtlest of hint that things were on the change. And then the first 10 minutes on Saturday, it was like, wow. It was like, you'd had Mr. Hyde at Molineux the week before, and now you're getting Dr. Jekyll. It was like chalk and cheese. And I just thought, they've got lots to do to improve their game. But I thought they got we talked before about, them being very defensive and erring on the hard to beat aspect in the games that had preceded. And I think they were close to getting the balance right. They created some really good chances. I thought they played like they were having fun and they enjoyed it. And they looked like a bunch of lads who all like each other. And I think while there's a long way to go, I think there was some very, very promising signs. It was interestingly, I heard, and if you backing up this idea about attitude and about team spirit, which everybody said would never come, but actually it is coming. I've heard that they're all going out on Thursday nights for dinner together. And something I heard, it may be apocryphal, I don't know, but which makes me feel quite proud of them. In the aftermath of what they did on Saturday, they were offered 2 days off and none of them took it. They all wanted to come back in. Now, to me, I love that. And that says, my guess is that Joe, Yatesy, people like that would have been at the forefront of that. But Gary Birtle said, I watched Gary yesterday, and Gary said if he'd have been offered 2 days off, he'd have taken it, and all the Forest lads have been down the pub. Yeah, the old boys. But
Yeah.
our boys know where they are. They know how much work they have to do, and that kind of humility and that attending to the reality, it really impresses me. So, yeah, we're on the way. But I tell you what, if we win at Arsenal, then yeah, we have turned the corner. But
Time to go loopy.
I'm with Warren. I just think it is a little bit too early to say yet.
No, I think that's the right approach. I mean, we saw what Leicester fans did after they beat us, and I may have been quoted saying we were going to win the league after the match, but I come to you, Forrest. And same question: have we turned a corner? But I want to challenge you a bit more. What do you think was better in that performance? Was there a particular thing that stuck out more to you in that game?
Just before I answer that, just purely coincidentally, it wasn't a pre-thought thing when you asked about favourite films. That's a little watercolour of David Bowie that I did a while ago. So
you drew that?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I painted that. Yeah,
man with hidden talents.
You've not seen my art.
I've not seen your art.
I am an artist. That's what I am.
Okay.
Have you missed a word out there, Ant?
I don't know what you mean. Right. Okay. So
no, it's a lovely painting.
Thank you. Yeah, I did see signs that there was potential there that we could be not necessarily turning a corner, but certainly hit a mark where we can progress from.
Yeah.
And for me, the best thing that I saw on Saturday was that magic word, that gelling. There was connections. There were connections between certain players, connections between the front, the middle, and the back. And that's something that we've not seen a great deal of this season. And I think that promises a lot of positivity going forward. I mean, I don't know if you want to talk about Arsenal yet, but
we'll come on to Arsenal. We'll come on.
Yeah. I mean, very briefly, though, I think that if we could continue with that, I don't think Arsenal, it's not impossible for us to get something from Arsenal, and which I would not have said before the Liverpool game. I mean, I've said before that the lowest point for me was the Leicester game, where that was the first time this season that I kind of almost lost belief because there was nothing in that Leicester game, no positivity at all. But since that game, I don't know how they've done it. Credit to Steve Cooper, credit to the boys. I don't know how they've done it, but they seem to have got something going. And I've said all along, and I think most people would agree, we have actually got a squad capable of surviving in this league. So if we can get them working together, then yes, there's reasons to be positive.
I like it. And Rad's coming to you, mate. Same question. And what impressed you? And have we turned the corner, mate?
Well, the whole performance impressed me. I think after not the first half against Brighton, but the second half against Brighton, I think we all were a bit more optimistic because it was obviously a very solid defensive display. Obviously, attacking wise, it was not existent at times in that game, but against Liverpool, it was incredible. Really, we were playing with that fear, which I think is something we were doing every game before that. And like we've all been saying, it was quite clear that there was some kind of togetherness going on. They were all fully invested, which I think they all were beforehand, but because they weren't together, it just wasn't showing. Just the way they approached it tactically, I just thought it was spot on. It was one of the first times in ages that I've looked at a game and I don't really think we made any big mistakes, which is great. For instance, transitioning from 4 at the back to 5 at the back, we did it easily, which is fantastic. Players coming on like Wall, obviously, I think he did really well. Obviously, who else came on? Basically
it was a lot. Mangala came on.
Yeah.
I've gone blank. Mangala came on.
Loddy came on as well.
Brennan, Loddy, yeah.
So when the subs are coming on, they're doing well. That's particularly impressive. It's just we needed it hugely. We hadn't won for 9 games. It was going on and on, dimming that confidence. But that's something we played with on Saturday. So, that's just going to hopefully get us going even more. And we just hope that it's not just a one-off. We can actually build on this now. And before this Liverpool game, going into Arsenal, no matter how good they are right now, I didn't think we'd get anything at all. But I do think we stand a better chance after that Liverpool game. And also when you realise, obviously, they drew Southampton at the weekend, which you probably wouldn't have expected. So I don't think it's out of the question to get to go to Arsenal and get something, but I still think it's going to be very hard. And I do agree with what the other lads have been saying. We can't just think this is just going to make us suddenly stay up with ease. It's still going to be a very tough season. We're still going to lose games that you probably wouldn't think we would. And we're just going to, stick at it. But hopefully there's a bit more order going on, and hopefully we can just grind out results a bit more often.
Yeah, I think for me, I agree with everything you guys are saying. I love how grounded the approach is, because the cold hard facts are we're still bottom of the league. But what's important is we're not adrift. That for me, imagine we'd lost that match and we're still sitting on 6 points. Leicester got the win. The others around us all got a win. We'd suddenly be sitting here with, very different shapes to these smiles on our faces. That's how fine the margins currently are. I think I messaged yesterday saying that West Ham went from 17th to 10th with that one win yesterday. It's still not stretching out yet, which is in our benefit. One thing I want to add, excuse me, and just touch on is, for me, the biggest thing that filled me with the most pride was the pressing from the front. And it's something I've been moaning about, and I'll use the word moaning because I have been all season about. But the difference in the likes of Owoni pressing from the front and the other twos and different triggers coming off. I don't know if anyone wants to raise anything about that. I'll just speak amongst it.
I would say that they were, from the minute go, all of them had FUCKU in their eyes at Liverpool, right? Chet Kiriarty was like, who the hell are they? How dare they come on our pitch? Ryan Yates, look at me broken nose, look at me black eye. Remo Freuler, the silent man, just goes about his business, busy and tidy and neat. Cookie, McKenna, Serge Aurier. So many of them had by far their best games in a Garibaldi red shirt. Jesse Lingard, I thought, for his hour was excellent. And Jesse Lingard's half an hour after he came on, when he didn't sit in the dugout and he was stood outside, and then his little dance in front of the Trent end. Jesse's a Forest player. Whatever these people out in the media say, Jesse loves being at this club and this club loves Jesse. I thought all of Brennan came off the bench, and Brennan didn't sulk. Brennan went okay, and he came on and he made his impact. I thought it was this business of every time Salah or Firmino or Fabio Carvalho got the ball, Forest were like roughing them in a controlled way.
Yeah.
The number of times Mo came into the box and then ended up making a diagonal run back outside the box. I mean, Mo's second half, I think he went into town and did some shopping, because I never saw him, right. And I thought,
it's not just that. Just to interrupt there for a sec. What they were doing as well, Mo Salah, was pushing him onto his right foot. Yeah. I know it's subtle, but if you look at his shots, most of them, they were on his right foot weak, and his weak foot is weak. And I thought that was impressive. That showed the level of detail that we're going to. That to
me, Wolvie, smacked of having a plan. Like in cricket, bowlers have plans for batsmen, and Steve and Tatey and Andy Reid and Jamie Robinson had a plan for Mo. It was interesting to me that Liverpool's outlet was a 36-year-old man down the right. Milner was their best player.
Yeah.
And that speaks volumes, about what Forest did in getting that holy grail of a win over a Big Six team. I before kickoff, I could not see that happening. Even when you saw Liverpool's lineup and there was no Núñez, no Alcantara, there was no Luis Diaz, no Diego Jota, it's still a powerful Liverpool team. But when James Milner was the biggest threat, that was a 1-0 to Forest. And I thought what Forest did, like what they did to Brighton the last 20, 25 minutes on Tuesday night, Forest forced Brighton psychologically to betray their thinking. Brighton were looking round and disappeared up their own backsides, thinking, hang on, we should be beating these easy. Why aren't Nottingham Forest doing as we want them to? And Forest did the same to Liverpool. And Liverpool, towards the end, were like getting exposed as being a bit of an emperor's new clothes. Do you know what I mean? So
you know what, Dave? When I was sitting in a Trent End, and after about probably 70 minutes, something like that, I said to the lad next to me, I said, you know, if I didn't know these were called Liverpool, I wouldn't be worried about this game at all.
No, true.
It was only the fact it's Liverpool that there's always that little thing, isn't there? These are a fantastic side. But on the actual play that we could see, no, I wasn't worried about them.
They're at 6s and 7s. Apparently there's been rumours of in locker room arguments now and everything exploding off behind the scenes at Liverpool. I don't know if it's directly because of what happened in the Forest match. I've had loads of my Liverpool mates whose phones finally started working today, by the way, saying to me, well, you came at us at a good time. I don't think there's ever a good time to play Liverpool. I think they had 3
wins on the bounce, one of them by 7-1 away from home.
Exactly.
And they
beat Man City.
Beating the best team on the planet.
Exactly.
Man City.
I mean, come on, let's be fair. It was a good time to play them. Let's be honest. I mean, if they had their full...
It's a bad time for them to play Nottingham Forest. You can turn it around.
I like that one.
Yeah. And listen, I'm not diminishing what we did because we beat Liverpool.
Yeah.
But, if we're absolutely honest, if Jota had been there, if Douglas Luiz had been there, if Nunes had been there, it might have been tough. But that's football. We have injuries. We've not got Neil Potter. We've not got Lewis O'Brien. We've not got Matt Wallace. You know what I mean?
Thiago,
so we have players. Our players are as important. Missing players are as important to us as their missing players were to them.
Yeah. Just before we finish, carry on with this, I've had loads of questions on this today, and I'm a little disappointed, man. Can I clarify why Brennan was offside? All right. So most people, for some reason, think the offside rule is be in front of a defender. The official offside rule is be in front of 2 players. Yeah. Correct. Normally, the goalkeeper will class as one of those players. It's very rare you'll see an offside because the goalkeeper isn't in there. So have the rule in your head as you have to be behind 2 players when the ball is delivered. Obviously, Alisson was up for the corner. So Brennan was only behind 1 player, hence why it was offside. I got to admit, I had no clue what was going on at the time. I didn't know Alisson was out, and I'm screaming at Brennan, corner flag. I thought Alisson was still in his goal, and it was just like, it was such a manic last few minutes.
I think he was trying to copy Taiwo's goal, off the post, and then he was going to run onto it and put it in, That was his idea.
The old 1-2 with the post. I like it.
1-2 with the post, yeah.
I like it. I just want to carry on this theme. I want to go around. Wazza, I want to start with you. Not to put anyone on the spot or anything, but just first name that comes to head for you, man of the match performance. Who stood out in your mind? I think we could sit here and argue for all 11 if we wanted to, and we'd end up not agreeing, in a positive way, that is. But who stuck out for you as the one?
I would say there was, for me, 6 or 7 who could have taken it. And with apologies to Henderson, because his save at the end was absolutely first class, world class, I would have to split it between Yates and Chiarte, who both of them warriors on Saturday, never stopped running. Brilliant performances from both of those lads for me.
Good shout. Dave, with you?
You know what? It's an incredibly tough one, Wolvie. I mean, I was on here 2 or 3 weeks ago after the Villa game saying that everybody was a 6 and a 7, which I thought they were. Saturday, I thought you could give 9 to all 11, but I'm going to go for Steve Cook, because for him, that piece of play that created the goal.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, listen, Morgan takes the free kick. And the only human being of like 30,000 people in that stadium who read what was on and had the calm composure to do it was Stephen Cook. The ball went over his head. He's a big centre half. He brought it down, and almost instantly he's fired it into the box, and almost instantly he's put Liverpool into a quandary, which Taiwo, backed up by Ryan, took advantage of. And I just thought in his general play as well, Steve used his experience really well. He's not, we all know Steve's not a Derby winner, not a 2,000 guineas winner. You know, he's not a sort of a King's Stand Nunthorpe Stakes winner. But what he is, he can make yards in his head, like Nigel Clough did back in the day, like John Robertson did back in the day, right? And I thought Steve had a really, really good game. But, you know, then you start thinking, you're saying, Steve, well, Scotty had a cracker, Serge Aurier. I think the revelations, let me just spin it a little different.
Yeah.
To me, the revelations were Serge Aurier, Cheku Kouyaté, and got to be Taiwo, because they were the three for me who the jury was still well out. And I think the jury might have poked its head round the door. Let me also give a little prop to Nico, who's a right footer playing on the left. And I thought Nico was another one who had his best game in a Garibaldi red. So I'm going for Cookie, but I feel like I'm doing a disservice.
Steve, you missed the kit man out.
Pat Lally had a blinder in the Trent end as well.
Just before I come to you, and with the same question, I kind of agree with Tommy on this one. I thought, kind of slightly disagreeing with what you're saying, Dave, I thought it was a routine free kick, because I broke it down and did some analysis on it, and the person who's not getting credit for it is McKenna. Because McKenna was his eyes for the line. He was holding the players as well to let Cook go around. Now Ant's going to steal the line that I used, Steven Zidane, which he was trying to spit on Doors channel last night, right? Nicking it from me.
It was Zidane-like. It was, it was. It was. My point was, if a Zidane had done it or a Messi had done it, the way Cookie brought that ball down, if I'd done it, I'd have torn the hamstring. I know we've joked about your steel hamstrings this week, Dave. Maybe you could have done it. But the way he brought it down, and the fact that he didn't look up to cross it again, shows you they planned it. And then for Taiwo to have the foresight to play a 1-2 off the post, knowing that anywhere else Alisson would have saved, it's just sheer football genius. But yeah, and who stood out for you, buddy? Well, I think that Taiwo finish is very, very underrated, because when he took the shot and hit the post, he was expecting that to go in. For him to get his body in the position and be quick enough to adjust, to just calmly place that to the left or the right of the goalkeeper, depending on which way you look at it.
Yeah.
It was very cool. That was a very, very good finish. He could have been wheeling away with his arm up in the air, thinking he'd scored after the first one, but he wasn't. He was ready for it, and he took it really, really well.
You saw my analysis, You saw my analysis, because the thing that he did that no one's mentioned is once he took the shot, his first reaction was to stick his arm out to block off the other two defenders getting ahead of him. And that's just complete, that's football brain. It's not, I know everyone jokes about Bambi on ice, and I do as well with him, but he just looks that way. But when you break down his performance and you see the subtle things, he had one arm out. It wasn't like he was off balance with two arms. It was one arm out to hold the two defenders off so he could react first. And that for me just sold it. I'd put Coyote as man of the match. But then when I was going back through and really breaking down the play, I was looking at his play thinking, this guy's changed the way we performed with the press, with the football knowledge, and so on. Right, it's coming to you as no, Ant, you didn't even tell us who. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, I won't go through the entire team, because it is easy to go through that entire team, praising each and every one of them. I mean, very quickly on Lingard, gets a lot of stick, and I mentioned elsewhere that when people watch on TV, they can't see what that player is doing off screen, and he's running his bollocks off. You know what I mean? But people on screen can't see that. So what do we say? Lazy Lingard? No. But the one that I'm going to give it to, because I think it's perhaps the most surprising and the most thrilling for me, was Coyote. I thought the guy was immense. He looked quality. And I tell you what made me smile. I think I said to the guy next to me, Paul, I said, I never thought that I'd be disappointed to see Kawate going off and Mangala coming on. I could not have imagined that in my wildest dreams.
No.
But I was sad to see him go, and he deserved, standing ovation. He was.
And what about his ball in for Brennan?
Yeah.
He put a great ball.
Have you seen his balls, Dave?
Sorry, mate. Say that again.
Have you seen his balls?
His balls?
Yeah, some of his balls.
They won't be as big as Yates's after Brighton, I'll tell you that. Yates are like 2 balls.
I think this is the question.
So I'll pass on to Rads.
Yeah, we'll go on to Rads. But Rads, maybe address this, right? Because Coyote, I've always had him down as a CDM. Yeah. One of my biggest, and I've been one of his biggest critics over the last few games. But I gave him credit where credit was due in that match. Is he a box to box, or is he a CDM, or is he a center? I've given up understanding this guy. Yeah, he's turning into my new Cafu headache where I don't actually know where they play. Well, I'm going to add that to your ads to the question, but as well, I still want to know who stood out for you in the performance. I don't expect you to have the answer. I don't think anyone knows the answer, but what do you think he is?
Well, I thought it was a CDM, but after that run he made, cross it into Brennan, I thought, hang on a second, is he our new left winger? I mean, he didn't look out of his depth at all making that run that far up the pitch. I would definitely, I could pick so many players for man of the match. I'd probably go with Yatesy, to be honest, but I could easily pick Freuler, Cook, Aurier, Awani. There's so many that I could choose from that game. Obviously Kawate as well.
Nobody could argue with any player that any of us picked, could they? Nobody else could argue with them.
I've not even mentioned Dean Henderson. Like, he literally saved us right at the end. Yeah. I mean, Kawate, when we signed him, I just thought he'd be probably more of a depth player. I didn't really think he'd play that much, but
agreed.
He's played a lot more than I thought, and I've been one of those people that I haven't said he's awful, but I just felt like he shouldn't have been starting. And there have been times where he's not been the best, but I do feel he proved those doubters wrong heavily against Liverpool. Didn't stop running, like we've been saying. I'd give it to Yatesy, though. I just think it continuously proves people wrong. Never stops running, just like Kawate. You just look at him, just look at he's got a scar here. He's been kicked and bruised. And
David, what about that photo of Yatesy with 4 Liverpool guys around him, and he's barging between the two? It's a wonderful photograph. That
I don't really think I need to say much about his performance. I just think he just goes about his business, very quietly, like Fowler does, really. But there's so many players I could give it to, definitely. But I probably
it's so nice to have these kind of debates between us.
And isn't it nice to be able to heap praise on one of last year's heroes in Steve Cook after what he's been through a pretty torrid time. It's nice to be able to say, wow, what a performance. Because he is one of our heroes from last year.
He is. I love him. I'm the first to stand up and say I don't think he was cut out for the Premier League. If I'm still bringing it back down to reality, once Niakate's fit, for me, he still walks in. I know the guys are asking in there in the chat.
The thing is,
that's my opinion.
I think the thing is, lads, all of them should walk away from that game now and think, right, we can do this. The great phrase that Steve used was they've got a reference point. Now, if I'm Steve Cooper, before we go to Arsenal and before Brentford and Palace come, and even Tottenham in the Carabao, Steve can now say, well, you did it there for me against Liverpool. I now have a right to expect that every week. And I looked at it and I thought it's the first time this season that people weren't able to just casually dismiss Nottingham Forest as an also ran and a sort of a make weight in this division. And ludicrous though it seems, what we did there will make other teams like Leeds United, Leicester City, Wolverhampton Wanderers, Everton, Villa, Southampton, Brentford, Bournemouth might drop in, Fulham might drop in. They might look at Nottingham Forest and go, oh my grief. Nottingham Forest beat one of the big 6 and didn't fluke it. They deserved it. They were brave. They were purposeful. They were united and together, and they tried. I thought it was the nearest performance this season, which clearly the best performance this season, but it was the nearest approximation of what they did so well last year. And I thought it was just, they should have so much. I mean, Taiwo Awoniyi, right? He gave Virgil van Dijk, he forced Virgil van Dijk into being a centre forward rather than a centre half, because all of Liverpool's chances fell to Virgil. But there were 2 or 3 times when Taiwo really let one of the best central defenders in the world know he was about. And
Can you remember, Dave? Can you remember, Dave, how he played against Kurt Zuma?
Yeah.
He bullied him. So I remember I was at that match and I was right close up, and I thought, you know, like I say, on TV you don't always see what's going off of the ball, and I thought he's bullying that big powerful centre half.
Yeah.
Warren, is on Taiwo. Would you have subbed him off?
I believe
hindsight's wonderful.
I would have done. I'll tell you why. Sorry, go on.
I know it's hindsight. I know it's a wonderful thing and everything. Let me rephrase it. At the time, would you have subbed him off?
I was surprised initially, but when I gave it a bit more thought, I thought it made sense because that lad had run himself senseless for 70 minutes. And he did look a little bit tired, to be fair. And I think that was what was in Cooper's thinking. And I've kind of agreed with that. Although you don't want him to go off when he's playing so well, if he's going to be tired and not keep that level of performance up, then it makes every bit of sense to bring Johnson on because he was raring to go. Like Dave mentioned earlier, I think it was, he hadn't sulked and he came on and he played brilliantly for the last 20 minutes. So for me, it was Cooper making really intelligent and spot on substitutions and at the right time in the game for me, personally. I agreed with what he did.
Yeah, I must admit at the time, I felt he had another goal in him. But I've done some research on it. And something that's quite interesting is most of the time while he was at Union Berlin, he was subbed off around like the 68th minute in a lot of his matches. I don't know, it's because he's a unit of a lad and, you know, the lactic acid starts to build up or what have you. But I thought that was quite interesting, and maybe they know that about him within the club as well. So it's quite interesting.
But like you were saying about his finishing in the game, and like you say, you know, the technique, putting the arm and everything, you don't score 16 goals in the Bundesliga unless you're a very talented forward, you know, and finally we're starting to see that. And if I didn't know that, that's an interesting stat. If that's when he's been coming off in the Bundesliga, then maybe that's what he needs to keep him fresh week in, week out, you know. And Cooper's going to know, or his coaching team, they're all going to know these little bits and pieces of information, and they're going to use them to our advantage, hopefully. So, in that sense, then it makes even more sense to take him off at that point.
Rad, did you give him a run? Sorry, go on.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I don't think he's played 90 minutes yet, has he?
No.
Awoniyi? No. Would I give him a run?
I think Saturday, what Steve foresaw was that Liverpool's desperation would and their ball retention would mean that Forest would be forced into playing on the counter in those last few minutes. And who better than Bren to do it? I mean, you know, but for a little bit of offside and a post with Alisson buggering off up front and actually getting in the way of his forwards rather than helping them.
Yeah.
You know, that could easily have been 2-0 with, you know, Brennan getting a glory moment. So I think, hindsight is the most exact science.
But Dave, I'd add on to that the Morgan Gibbs-White chance. I'd add on to that the Yatesy chance as well. Yeah. Both brilliant option. Milner, the block keeper on MG Dub's chance was out of this world.
Yeah, it was.
Alisson, desperation save, but he is world class. He saved it.
I think sorry.
I was just going to jump back to Rads, and I can't remember what the question was initially, Rads. What was it? What were we talking about? Would you now want to see him in a run? And I know you're a Surridge fan as well, so it's a bit of a headache. But do you? Yeah, go on. You have permission. But would you want to see him have a run of maybe all the way to the end to the World Cup break, maybe?
Yeah, I would, to be honest. After that game, I think he proved his worth. And looking back on the game and watching it in person, I kind of got, for the first time with Taiwo, vibes of what Keenan Davis used to do. You know, just run at the defence, cause problems, holding up the ball really well. in the process, just being a nuisance. And that's what Davis did really well for us last season. And I think it's, one, he has missed a few chances this season where he should have scored. Like Leicester, he missed 2 golden chances. His Bournemouth and Fulham, he missed some big chances. But he's scored 4 goals for us, I think. So, like, that's excellent, Like, if he's scored 4 goals and he's not even been starting regular football matches for us, that's huge.
Exactly.
And if
he's going to average a goal every other game, he's going to end up on 15, 16 goals a season. That's just Moneyball based on what he did last year. So
just imagine if he could start a regular run of games, he'd probably score even more goals. So I'd love to see Awani start. I think Surridge is obviously a great player. He's not been playing much, but I think he's still got a lot to offer. And obviously Dennis can play in many positions. So I would play Awani a bit more.
I think in these games coming up, so Sunday, Saliba, the following week, Ben Mee, and whoever at the back, and then the week after that, Anderson. Now, these are dominant centre halves. These are guys who will kind of almost control a game from the back because of their presence. Now, Virgil kind of did that in the cup match last year. I think Virgil was the reason they beat us in the cup in a very tight encounter. Yeah. Now, against Arsenal, Brentford and Palace, Taiwo could be a real nuisance to their guys at the back. They're sort of their leaders, if you like, which I love the fact that he didn't stand off Virgil. He wasn't cowed by Virgil's reputation. No. And I think going into these games against, Arsenal, Brentford and Palace, I think, as Davies says, Taiwo will get a run, I think. He proved really for the first time what he can do on Saturday. And I think Steve will now say to him, you've done it against Liverpool, go and do it against Arsenal, Brentford and Palace. So I think his emergence is kind of is actually quite a big part of the emergence of what looks like a fairly settled, structured 11,
Yeah, we're starting to see the spine, I think, of the team. But I want to ask something. I've been dying to ask you guys, and I haven't mentioned this on any of my videos because I wanted to bring it up here, right? If I said this name, yes or no, do you know what I'm talking about? Yashin.
Lev Yashin.
Yes.
The great Lev Yashin. Russia,
the old guys jump in.
Yeah,
Brad, you know him from FIFA. You know him from FIFA.
I know Lev Yashin, but yeah.
Dressed all in black, didn't he, Dave?
But what was the key thing? What was his hallmark?
Ooh.
Being a communist.
Cap.
Dressing all in black.
Cap.
That's a good point. That's a really good point. A bit like yourself, mate. It's a bit of a Lev Yashin tribute that's going on in your house now. Your missus has gone out with the kids. You know what I mean? Wolvie, I've heard of like cosplay and all that.
H for Hendo on his
Tonight, Matthew, I'm going to be Lev Yashin. You know what I mean?
No, Dave, isn't that an H for Hendo on his cap?
It's like
an H. It's an A-U, isn't it?
It looks like an H.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah. When I first saw that brand, I was like, "Where's the H in Under Armour?" But my point is, are we not seeing something iconic now? We had Samba last season with the bottle, and now we got Dino Yashin with the cap. There's got to be some kind of meme out there, man. I'm glad you guys all know, guys. Yeah, in the chat, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, the hat. It's the absolute hat, and got it spot on in the chat. So did Oh My. But as soon as I saw him, waving it, and when he went into the crowd, I was worried he was going to lose his hat.
I was going to say, I don't think jumping into the crowd did anything to damage his popularity amongst Forest fans, did it?
Skyrocketed for me, mate. Skyrocketed. But I'm seeing, I love the symbolism last season with the bottle, with Samba, and now Dino with that cap. I don't care if it's raining, foggy, and overcast. His best performances have been with that bloody cap on. Yeah, someone needs to just get some super glue and put it to his head because it's becoming iconic for me. I don't know what you guys think. I'm just putting it out there.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Won't do any harm for his sportswear that he can sell, will it?
Exactly. Yeah. So I just wanted to bring that up. Okay, let's move it forward. And here we go. Hendo's found his cap. Yashin. Dave Yashin Asprey, mate. Now,
Hey, just a quickie on caps. On Saturday, me and Kel went into the club shop looking for a baseball cap, Forest baseball cap.
Yeah.
They had bobble hats, bucket hats, fucking Santa hats. No bloody baseball caps.
Rads, where'd you get yours from?
Sold out.
Forest shop.
There you go,
Yeah.
Ant. Forest shop.
There's a Forest shop and the Forest club shop.
Yeah.
Well, Rad's got his.
About a year ago, at least.
Yeah, I'm going to say, that's not a current one.
He's never taken it off. Have you, Rads? He was born with it.
Always on.
Steve said on the day he was delivered, young David Radford was born with a cap, entirely naked by his cap.
Yeah.
He had a big head when he was born.
It was a breech birth, I think. I don't know. They had kids.
Speaking about big heads, right? I'm gonna have to do it. I want to move the subject on, and we are gonna talk about, because I get the piss taken out of me with this.
You're like brothers, Wolvie.
Did Klopp? Did he underestimate us or disrespect us? Guys in the chat want your thoughts on this as well. Everyone says I look like Klopp when I put my blue blocker glasses on and what have you. Dave, we're looking like twins here. You just need to let it go for a few days. Hey, Wazza's joining the party as well.
I've not got one.
I want to start this one off with Warren. Thoughts on Klopp? Because I thought his interview was appalling after the match. But do you think he underestimated us, or do you think he disrespected us? And guys in the chat, get your thoughts.
Are you talking strictly about the interview, or are you talking about team selection as well?
Both, all of it combined.
I saw a few people mentioning this on Saturday, and straight away I didn't agree with it. I think it's not a disrespecting thing. The team he played, he was forced to play that team because he's got so many players out injured. There's at least 8, I would say, of their first 18 out injured. But you can only beat who's in front of you. I'm not saying, it's not a brilliant result, because it's still a really class team. Premier League is a squad game. In terms of interviews, I did see a few that were a bit, they were a bit salty. But then I did see one he gave later in the day when he calmed down a bit, and that was a bit more respectful. I think it's probably just he was raw at the time. Any manager's going to be upset when they've lost. I think he probably thought they were going to come and win. We were bottom of the league. That's understandable. But we showed him we're not pushovers. The lads went out there and played a brilliant game, as we've all said. So I don't know. I don't think the only disrespect came, like I say, in those immediate interviews. But it was a case of raw emotion at the time. There was a little bit more respectful in his interviews later in the day for me.
Okay, interesting. Dave, same question to you. I mean, I know I'm not necessarily talking about the starting line, because as Warren correctly points out, it was a necessity for him. But God, did they forget to mention our injuries? But that's a whole nother topic. But yeah, did you find it disrespectful, underestimate, or neither, or both? What did you think?
Well, I agree with Warren. I felt no disrespect from his selection. As Warren said, it was forced on him. Liverpool do have some serious injuries at the moment. Where I got a little bit irritated, and I suppose it's a comparison thing. I watched Thomas Frank at Villa Park, just came straight out and said, "Well played, Aston Villa. What can you do? They were the better team." And he was an absolute gentleman, Thomas Frank, as have been a lot of others. Now, the phrase that vexed me, if you like, was when he said it was us against ourselves. And my thought was, so Nottingham Forest had no part in it. Nottingham Forest weren't even out there. Nottingham Forest, the one thing you can definitely say about Nottingham Forest at the weekend was they gave 1,000% for each other, for their manager, their administrators, and every single person in that ground or outside it who follows our fantastic club. Our lads were as honest as the day's long on Saturday. So for him then to say it's this lazy, you worried when you watch Match of the Day. The first thing was we were first on Match of the Day. So there's a step in the right direction. Then I felt like, here it comes. It'll be all about what Liverpool didn't do rather than what Forest did do. And actually, to be fair to Danny Murphy and Martin Keown, they talked and said some good things about Forest. I think in a way, yeah, he would, like Warren's absolutely right. He will have been hurt at that moment, and I think sometimes, journalists and media should refrain from sticking a microphone in the face of a guy
I get that.
who's sort of experiencing extreme emotions and feelings. Let them settle down. What I would say is that my personal take on it was like when they beat us in the cup in March, Jurgen was all over the field, putting his arm around Forest players, shaking their hands and being the gentleman. I remember him walking off with his arm around Joe Lolly. Now, could he not have done that on Saturday and taken the moral high ground back? Because the one thing, I ran a team for 17 years, and what I did not want to do, because opposition knew who I was and heard me say things and whatever, I never ever wanted to give away the moral high ground. I never ever wanted to give an opposition a reason to want to beat me that they hadn't earned. And so what Jurgen did at the weekend, Thomas Frank showed him how to do it. Thomas Frank was wonderful the other night. He was articulate, he was magnanimous, he was gracious, and he showed him how to do it. But I do think that, where Jurgen was on Saturday was that he was kind of he had it brought home to him by what most people perceive to be by far the weakest team in the division, the supposed whipping boys. And Forest's great achievement of the weekend is nobody will take us for granted now. Arsenal won't, Brentford won't, and Palace won't. Nobody will think, wherever we go now in this division, in the remaining, 26 games, everybody will have it in their heads that Nottingham Forest beat Liverpool fair and square, right? Up to that point, what upset me up to that point was we kind of almost fueled the narratives against us about us being the promoted team, not been there for years, a rushed preparation, lambs to the slaughter. Forest put that to one side now. So you can bet your bottom dollar Arteta will not be underestimating Steve and our lads at the weekend. So, Jurgen, I do think sometimes that, I've got a very close friend who's a Liverpool fan, a wonderful lad I've known for a long time, and he said Klopp gave credit where credit was due, and I hadn't seen the later interview at the time, and I said yes, he did, but I didn't think it at the time. But
I didn't see that. I didn't see that, to be honest. He gave a token gesture one from what I saw on the post-match interview. But and I guess same question to you, Colin. We will come on to the Arsenal game shortly as well, just to let you guys know. How did you feel about Klopp?
I'm glad he didn't come to me first, because I've had a bit of time to calm down.
Conte.
Rant. Guys, Sam rants in his chat. We're gonna rant.
He is a Mardy, disrespectful, classless, salty bastard. What the fucking hell he said in that interview afterwards made me feel sick to the back teeth.
But he
not
lost.
One mention of Nottingham Forest Football Club. Not one. It was injuries. We played twice this week. It's not fair. The referee didn't. Fuck off. Why not come out like Brian Clough and say, I'd like to congratulate Nottingham Forest. They played excellent today and they were the better side. Good luck to them.
Yeah.
That's Jurgen Klopp for you. Fuck him.
Yeah.
And as for Conte, but I would like to point out that the Fossil Fuel FC lost at home.
And we're well beaten.
They were smashed.
Yeah.
Rads beat that.
I don't know.
That was after me calming down with another two guys.
I should have come to him first, guys. That's on my YouTube short for tomorrow. If you guys missed it, I'll be clipping it. Oh, look at
Wolvie,
this.
askant again.
Wait, Dor comes in, and what comes out with him? The dating sites. I hope you're well. That's real well funny.
I have to give what the public want. They demand it of me.
Ants rant.
Honestly, I'll get a weekly short out of him. I love it. Yeah, Rad, beat that.
Then I can, to be
What
honest.
if you turn around and say what I thought? What if you turn around and say, well, I thought he was perfectly reasonable?
Yeah. No, not at all. Not at all.
Do it, Rads. Rads, do it, and then I want to go back to him again and see it, and then he's gonna rip you.
Yeah.
And you
I think Klopp spoke perfect sense in that interview and was honestly really fair, really, really down to earth. And yeah, fair play to Jurgen Klopp for his post-match interview. And I'd like to get Ant's thoughts on my
because Rads, they
opinion.
definitely deserved to win, so you could understand his frustration, couldn't you? And we played so shit that we deserved no credit.
No,
And what's your
absolutely.
thoughts?
No excuse for having no class. None.
What would Steve Cooper have done in
exactly.
his position?
Yeah.
Well, forget that. We've got the example. Richarlison. Richarlison. What did Cooper say after it? He kept it nice and simple. Wouldn't allow it with my players.
Yeah.
Done. You know? He could have ripped him a new one like me and Ant were on the Ant, but he's got more class than the lot of us. So, yeah. There go, Rads. Joking aside, I assume you echoed the same things.
Yeah, I do fear that there was definitely a bit of arrogance to him. That he thought it wouldn't. Not that he underestimated us. He just thought, "Oh, we're Liverpool. We'll come in and get the 3 points. They're bottom of the league." Kind of mentality, which always happens when the big teams play the small teams. Obviously, like we've made very clear, and in particular, his post-match analysis and comments were totally wrong, disrespectful in that regard. I don't think the lineup was disrespectful because obviously they do have injuries, but like that isn't an excuse either. I don't think it was entirely down to injuries either because like they played Milner essentially at right back, but they had Alexander-Arnold on the bench, so like they made it weaker for themselves in that regard. Don't really care what Klopp thinks. We got the win, so like
exactly.
Yeah,
I think what Red Dog says is spot on. He's feeling the pressure. He's feeling the pressure, isn't he? There's pressure at all ends of the pitch right now in the Premier League. It's fascinating to watch compared to.
Sorry, Wolverine. Can I ask a question? When we were getting hammered by several sides and being beaten at home, I'm struggling to recall Steve Cooper there saying, "We got injuries. We played last week.
Next man up. Next man up.
Ref was awful. That shouldn't be allowed." I don't recall him doing that. Am I wrong? I don't recall him doing any of that.
Rads, you want to answer back? I'm scared.
No, I totally agree. Yeah, this is what the great thing about Cooper is like, he just says it as it is, but he doesn't cover anything up. If we play bad, it will make it very clear. He won't just have a go at what we did wrong. He'll give respect to the opposition, and I mean that's at the very least that we can ask for. Whereas Klopp very rarely does that. People, not just Klopp, but a lot of top managers, they'll just be mardy about the whole situation, arrogant, disrespectful. And we had a run of 5 defeats where we were crapping all of them essentially. Maybe not so much the Spurs game, but he didn't sulk in any of those interviews. He was very honest, and he just said, "We'll get through this." Fair play to the opposition as well. And that's the great thing about Cooper. He's not only a great manager, but he'll just be respectful.
I think Klopp, at the time he gave that interview, was very aware that Manchester City was sitting there in their dressing room laughing their nads off about. You can imagine Guardiola going, "Right, lads, Brighton this afternoon. Have you just seen what Nottingham Forest have done to Liverpool?" And City were guaranteed a win. Forest guaranteed City a win at the weekend because City would have been so boosted by unheralded, written off Nottingham Forest doing that, right? I did notice at the weekend there was no, it was like a European night. There was none of that. And I think he's another one.
That one, didn't they?
No. He just betrayed himself a little bit, which, I mean, really, what the great point that Ant makes in his incredibly extrovert way, and I love it when Ant rocks the Casbah. Do you know what I mean? It's brilliant.
I'm just wondering, Dave, I've not blown my chances of being interviewed on Sky Sports, have I?
No, Jim. I think you might get on Talk Sport though, Ant. To be honest, with Simon Jordan and Jim White, maybe.
Oh,
But,
I'd love to see that.
But you know what Klopp did? He might give Forest a reason to want to beat them at Anfield. Now, what Steve hasn't done, and Ant's point is a brilliant one. Underneath the invective and the ranting, it's a brilliant point. Is that when teams play Nottingham Forest now, going forward, whoever they may be, they won't be given a psychological reason to beat us.
Yeah.
You know, A, because Steve is a decent bloke, and B, because the person who put out that ridiculous tweet before the Wolves match will have been told in no uncertain terms not to do it again.
I wish he had done though before the Liverpool game, though, Dave. Now, on reflection, we should have put some down for that game.
Yeah, but you know, it goes back to this business stuff. When I was running teams, I didn't want somebody coming to play me the following week thinking, right, I'm going to shove Asprey's words right down his throat. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Just very quickly, Stan, we're coming on to that very shortly.
That's my brother, by the way.
Huh?
That's my brother.
Is it?
Yeah.
How you doing, Stan? Andy's a
Nathan.
member.
His name's Nathan. Hello, Nathan.
Oh, he's outed him. Were you at the game on Saturday?
No, unfortunately, I wasn't. No.
Okay. I want to come to you with the next question, but Ez has raised a good point, and I think this bleeds from what Klopp said. In terms of Klopp's attitude towards it as well. About this bollocks, as far as I can tell, with the Hillsborough stuff. Did any of you guys who were at the game hear anything at all?
No.
I've got in my pre-prepared notes, because I like to be professional.
Oh, he's going up in class here. I like it. Bloody hell! I didn't know you could write, but go on.
Yeah, only I can understand it. I've got Scouser fans atmosphere, because I don't know if you saw that tweet where they were saying the atmosphere is absolutely incredible. But then I put Hillsborough chants. And the reason I put that is because one of the most disgusting things I've seen over the weekend was AGT. I think his name is He's a Scout. He's a big Scouts podcaster. He's not Scouts.
Yeah.
And he said he was listing the reasons they lost. And amongst those reasons were injuries, playing too many times, this, that, the other. And then he said the Forest fans singing Hillsborough chants.
Never.
Now I was watching it on the replay. If it had been live, I'd have been on that comment. I'd have paid to get on there saying, please. I was there. I didn't hear a single Hillsborough chant. Please don't say Forest fans were singing Hillsborough chants. It wasn't Forest fans. There may have been a few twats that we've all got in our fan bases that were doing it, but it wasn't Forest fans. I was at Hillsborough. I was at Hillsborough. If I'd have heard anybody singing Hillsborough chants, I'd have been the first. We were there. It sickens me that there's been absolutely no.
We were part of it.
I tell you what, over the years, there's been no thought and consideration given towards Forest fans.
Yeah.
When we see dead people on the pitch, we don't care if they're Scousers or if they're Nottingham or whatever.
They're humans.
We're seeing children on the pitch.
Yeah.
And I couldn't. It took me a long time to want to go to another football match after that. And yet we've had nothing. And then for somebody to use that as an excuse for them losing, I thought was a disgrace.
Well, I watched AGT's podcast and he was sat in a pub with his mate watching the match. And as a bloke who's run football teams, I was watching two men who basically never kicked a football, never got dog shit on their leg playing on a Parks pitch, never put a tackle in. The pair of them, and they said, they made Klopp seem like positively respectful because they were saying, Nottingham Forest are playing terrible football, this, that, and the other. And I kept looking at it going, well, if you're that good, why aren't you beating us?
Yeah, if we're bad, what are you?
My view is, a part of me as the football fan, I wanted to be able to say to myself, I've seen Mohamed Salah, right? Liverpool, let me tell you, Liverpool have my favourite non-Forest player playing for them, and I absolutely love Andy Robertson, right? I think he's a great player and a good guy, But Liverpool, I tell you what, and what I find really funny, Dean's picture, which has been picked up as like Dean giving the V's to the Liverpool fans.
That's not
right?
even at the away end.
Yeah, listen, about the Liverpool fans, Dean wouldn't have known where they are because they were silent and utterly anonymous for the whole 90 minutes. Somebody would have had to say, if you want to stick the V's up with the Liverpool fans, Dean, they're over there, buried away in that corner. There was a great comment. I've got a lovely guy sits in front of me. His name's Kev, and he's been about a bit, Kev. He's a really good guy, and he goes, "They don't sing much, do they, for a city that produced the Beatles?"
You know what? You know, last season when we played when we played them last.
Echo.
Rad, what are you up to?
Rad Warren.
I've not touched anything.
Let me do my usual test. Echo.
Hello.
It's Wazza again, man.
Warren.
What have you touched, Warren? What have you touched?
We've told you before not to touch out that button. Yeah, last season and after the FA Cup, Grizz Grizz Khan is a well-known Liverpool pundit.
Stole my line.
He said that his mates had gone to Forest, and he said that the Liverpool fans he spoke to, now this is Liverpool, they'd never experienced an atmosphere like it. This season, as you know, I put that clip up when that guy was saying the atmosphere for 90 minutes. There were, that makes me feel proud. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, Rad's me and you. That's what Rad's my favorite guest to have because I try to attach. I don't remember Hillsborough very well. I just remember it. I was very young. We were about the same age, Raz. Shut up, Pam. Shut up, Dave. Shut up, Warren. I can say, and shut up, you guys in the chat as well. Yeah. But joking aside, I was
same IQ. Young.
What?
Your IQ's the same as his age.
But for me, it's something that even though I don't remember well, it's part. I see it as part of our history and the hurt as well. And anytime I see, the anniversary coming up, I'm watching what the Liverpool fans are doing, sending my condolences and everything, right? And it just, for me, it came across really disrespectful to us that they sunk to that level to do it. Let's move on from it because we're here to talk.
Let's just finish up with saying I was there and I didn't hear anything like that.
I have to say, I sit very close to the away end. Like I'm not right next to it, but I'm near A block. I'm in B block. I am, and I can hear pretty much everything that the away end says, and I didn't hear anything at all.
And in turn, you'd be able to hear what they can hear, obviously, apart from the Brian Clough stand side, say, for example.
Yeah.
And I'm in the Trent End, boys, right? And I heard zero of any of that. What I will say to you is that the Forest fans actually have come a long way in a week. I thought at Wolves, we were a pretty flat, resigned bunch. Brighton on the Tuesday night was magnificent, absolutely magnificent. And what I felt on Saturday was the first time that the home support have basically been like an away support. And I thought the support on Saturday was absolutely out of this world. And every single Forest person in that ground deserves a lot of credit for that. They really made it difficult for Liverpool in that regard.
You know what, Dave? You know that.
You hold on. I want to bring Warren in because he's been quiet for a bit.
No, very quick, just very quick one. The really sad thing is that if we'd have played Fulham and Bournemouth after the Liverpool fans, I think the atmosphere would have been up there.
Yeah, true.
I agree.
True.
Yeah. I agree. All right, Wazza.
Wazza.
All right. I want to bring you in with Rads. I want to quickly touch on some news that's come out today. So just moving the conversation forward, and then we'll finish off with Arsenal. Cooper's been charged by the FA. Wazza and Rads, if you two want to take this, Rads, I know you've tweeted about it. You made some interesting points. For those in the chat who don't know, I think it was after the Wolves game, his comments on that. It's in breach of FA Rule E3.1. Blah blah blah. In terms of his comments towards the referee, about, obviously, he basically said, and I've got the quotes from Cooper here, we know the ref well from last season. We had him in the championship. He said at the time, we know the differences of what you get with him, so we knew this was part of what we had to deal with today. And that's pretty much all he said. Let's start with you, Warren, because we haven't heard from you with your echo in a couple of minutes. What are your thoughts on this? And why are refs so untouchable?
Actually, what I'm going to ask is I'm going to ask if you let Rads go first, because he's covered this, as you say, on his Twitter. And I haven't actually seen the story. I missed it this afternoon.
Okay,
so I'm
no
going
worries.
to defer to Rads and let him answer it, because obviously he's got a bit more background on it.
Cool. I don't think you're echoing now, which is fantastic.
Brilliant.
Anyway, all right. Well, you've obviously got a bit of a rant on this one, so I'm interested in your thoughts on it as well.
Yeah. You're saying it's down to... It is a bit of an echo, isn't there?
I've muted him.
Yeah.
What's up? Unplug and replug.
Yeah, we're saying it's down to breaching rules. If that's the case, then don't referee breach rules every week for being terrible referees. This is what I don't understand. It's always been the case. Every single time there's a bad refereeing performance, you see managers saying, "Oh well, I want to say what I think, but I can't." Like the classic Mourinho. If I speak, I'm in big trouble. Like, he should just be able to say what he wants to say. If the ref isn't good enough, that's affecting the game. Like, surely this is why football, the higher ups, this is a totally different subject, but they're just fraudulent, because literally they are working on ways to make the game better when they clearly are not doing the obvious thing, which is just making the standard of officiating better, coming up with VAR and that. If they just had better referees, I don't think this would be so much an issue. I just think it's so wrong. I didn't even hear Cooper's interview, but like Cooper says what's on his mind for once. He doesn't normally do slag people off, but he was just clearly saying the referees aren't good enough, and the FA didn't like that, so they charged him. I don't know why it's Cooper's fault that the people that they're making the referees aren't good enough, quite clearly. Let's just look at every game. Every single game I go to, there's always people just abusing the referee, and quite frankly, they deserve the abuse because they're not doing the job properly. So I just think it won't change, but I just think it's something that really affects the game. And you would have thought when VAR was introduced, it would have made things easier, but it only makes it worse, because like every week you're saying, how can VAR do this? How can it do that? It's favouring the big team, we say Liverpool, that kind of thing. Barchester United, that kind of, they're quite funny, really. But
Arsenal now as well, apparently.
Yeah, it favours the big teams. The referees clearly favour the big teams as well. Some of the decisions that went against us at the weekend, quite clearly favouring Liverpool. I just think the referees are horrific, and it's wrong that we can't say what we want to say. The players can't, the managers can't, and if that's going to remain the case, which it will, then it's not going to change.
Yeah. Waz, I'm going to come to you, and I'm going to ask you, is this fair? Because if you're not, every manager has to come out after a match and explain their decisions, explain, why they got things wrong, or be scrutinized. I mean, to the extent where managers who are under pressure are being asked, how are you feeling about, tomorrow morning, and things like that. Some of these questions are unacceptable. Should refs not be put in front of a microphone after a match and be asked questions as well, and have their performance analyzed as well? And why are they so heavily protected? Let's go back to the old routine.
Yeah, I'm glad you came back to it, because I wanted to make a general comment on this anyway. I'd rather Rad's answer, because he knows the story. Going by what you just said that Cooper said, I can't really see why that's a problem. And for me, this one thing that I really hate in life, in all aspects of life, is censorship. And I believe firmly, this is a personal view, in freedom of speech.
Yeah.
And every year we see this, where managers are chastised and, you know, brought in front of the FA for giving valid, honest opinions after games. And I can't think of another industry where you're not allowed to put a thought process forward, even if you do it in a respectful manner, and say, I don't agree with what decisions that have been made. You don't see this in any other industry. And I'm surprised with all the lawyers and all the money that the big teams have, that no one sort of tried to subvert this yet and take them to whatever court it is, or you're not part of Europe anymore, and say, surely, how can you say to people they cannot have their genuine? And look, I'm not talking about people coming out and going blah 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 and saying really offensive things. If managers are coming out and respectfully saying, I thought the referee wasn't up to scratch today, that's a valid point. And when fans can see it for themselves, and when you're watching watching a match as a neutral, and it's not your team you're watching, and you can see blatantly that one of the ref is sort of siding more with another team, and then that manager comes out and says it, and he gets chastised for it. I don't know, there's something wrong with the system for me. There's something definitely wrong. And it's been getting worse year by year. And as you say, why are referees so protected, and why are referees not made to come out and say why they gave certain decisions, especially now with the VAR? Some of the things are getting VAR to check for. They're looking for the minutest, most ridiculous things. Excuse me. But they're still missing big mistakes all over the pitch. So it's working, but it's not working perfectly. It still needs honing, this system. But still, why are, as you say, why are referees so protected?
I just want to ask you one thing, and this bugs me, because I don't know if you guys saw the Man U Newcastle match with the penalties that weren't given across the way. That ref got sent into the Championship the next weekend. Yeah, I'm sure. I don't think anything was said in directness by Ten Hag after the match and what have you. Yeah, but it also shows there's this power about going back to what Radz was touching on about the bigger clubs who can still influence what happens to a ref by saying they've had a bad game, etc. And that for me is another bugbear. There's just an imbalance and protection on what the refs say. Sorry, come back to you now, Aaron.
Yeah, but if you think about it, that was the same weekend, I'm pretty sure, that we had the Wolves game, where there was, 2 penalties given once again on VAR. So it's not even like it's changing week to week. It's changing match to match over a weekend. And this is why the fans, and I hate it personally, consistency is the key word. And until you find a system that's going to provide 100% consistency, it's always going to be a problem. And the thing is, we're humans and people make mistakes. So why are the refs not allowed to come out and say, I'm sorry, I made a mistake? And we all saw the story about the referee in the Bournemouth game and last season. He actually had the balls to come in and say to Cooper, I'm sorry, I made a mistake, you should have had a penalty first half. So if they're doing that, privately to the coaches, maybe there should be some forum where they can go on and say, look, I made a mistake. Or would that invite more pressure? I don't know what the answer is. But it seems, as you said, they are protected from on high. This top 6 bias, yes, I do think it happens to a degree. I don't know. I haven't seen any stats to sort of. We all see it, but are we sort of looking at it with our Garibaldi specs on, or whatever colour team you support? But I think there is a slight bias that we perceive to happen in those cases.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah. And I think what Omai says here, and I want to come to and Dave on this, is, are they hiding behind VAR? Are they not making decisions because they're like, if I get it wrong, VAR is gonna protect me? What are your boys' thoughts on that one from Omai?
Well, first of all, I'm going to bring out the old cliche. Refereeing is hard.
Yeah.
I've sat at a football match at pitch level, and it's difficult to even watch the game at that level, and understand what's going on. So it is difficult, and they're going to make mistakes. I would say, rather than interviewing referees after matches, I think that doesn't give them time to process. I would rather see, like, the next day, Sky Sports interviewing officials, sitting them down, not criticising them, but just ask them, we're just curious as to what was in your mind, why you gave this decision, and give them the opportunity to explain why they gave that particular decision. Now, if VAR's involved, it's a different matter, because they could say, well, I didn't actually see it. I got the information from VAR. That's fair enough, yeah? I think VAR's a problem because VAR will give a replay, and everybody watching can see. Like, for example, Jesus being dragged down in the box. Everybody can see that's a penalty. So we're all wondering what has VAR seen or not seen that we all have seen. So I think the following day, a calm discussion would be more helpful rather than an emotional reaction afterwards. Because afterwards, the referee's going to be defensive. The next day, you might say, and he might even say, on reflection, I can see, maybe I got that one wrong. And I think most football fans would say, fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I want to, Dave, because you've coached as well. At the end of every match I do of my under-12s, we have to log on to the FA site and we have to give the ref a score. On top of that now as well. And yes, sometimes you're hot under the color, but there are certain sections within it. It's not just about was he good or was he shit. There's criteria that we have to cover, and if it's below 30 points, then we need to explain things as well. If it's between 30 and 50, it's in brackets and so on. Would you like to almost see a refereeing table as well? Is that something or is that taking
Sorry, Dave, can I just very, very, very briefly interrupt there? Because this is something that's always been a bugbear of mine. I spent 23 years, well, not even 23 years in the Championship. 3 of them were in the League One. I used to get quite annoyed, actually, when a referee would have a stinker in the Premiership. So they put him in the Championship. And I think, well, hang on. Yeah. This is important to us. We don't want somebody that you're saying is not good enough. If it's not good enough, kick him out. Done.
Yeah. Go on, Dave, if you want to pick up on that, and then we'll move on to Arsenal.
The point I would take from Ant, that would absolutely back up, is that refereeing is incredibly difficult, and so many people, the vast majority, don't want to do it. Now, I coach teams. Obviously, I ran a team, a decent blokes team for 17 years. Right now, there were times when I had to referee, and it's incredibly difficult. And I'm not representative of the vast majority of people watching football or involved in football. My view about the referee was that he was he went with the territory. When I finished running East Christchurch, the team I finished running, I got an award for being the most respectful manager to referees in the area, because I never fell out with one of them. Honestly, I never, and I'm not being holier than thou. My view was, I don't give a damn what the referee gives. I want my players to accept it, however outrageous, accept it. Because I'm telling you, where I come from, and you lads might say, oh, Dave, you're missing the point. You're too idealistic. I didn't want to ever give away the moral high ground by being a mad arse or a spoilsport.
Dave, Brian Clough, mate.
Yeah. Now, listen, my favourite second iteration of Forest were the choir boys at the end of the 80s, the Gary Crosby, Neil Webb, Paul Wilkinson, Nigel team that never got in trouble with referees. They knew that Brian would have to be after them. Now, so I'm not representative because because of the way I've been brought up in football, especially by my grandfather, who was a bloke who never got sent off, never got not a yellow card or anything. My view is that I used to say to my lot, do you want to go and referee? And every single one of them said no. So my sympathies are with referees.
Yeah.
I do feel when I see a referee doing a Premier League game, and especially the lad, I think his name was Thomas Bramall, who did the Wolves game. Yeah, he had a really difficult job, but I don't think he helped himself. And the Harry Toffolo penalty, how anybody could say that Harry Toffolo meant to create an advantage for Nottingham Forest is beyond.
What is the handball rule now? I have no clue. Clue.
The phrase I think that needs the most attention is clear and obvious, because at the moment there is no definitive take on what clear and obvious means. I mean, I watched West Ham and Bournemouth last night, and I felt really sorry for young Jordan Zemura. He went to do his best for his team. A ball hit him on the hand, and he was deemed to have transgressed. Ridiculous, So I think what I found was irritating to me, especially at Wolves, were the delays in getting to a decision, because what it did, you had this 5 or 10 minute,
Yeah.
seemed like 5 or 10
It
minutes,
was.
probably less,
It was.
but you had Wolves and Forest players all standing around having a conversation, waiting for a decision to come.
Yeah.
And that can't help anybody. I think, at the time, my first thought on VAR when it came in was that people were now unhappy with decisions being incredibly correct to like a millimeter. Do you know what I mean? But I just think
Did you see that last night, Dave? The Spurs one where they looked at that whether it brushed his hair.
Sanchez, Davinson
about
Sanchez
20
said.
times. If you don't see it first time, it's not clear and obvious. That's it.
Exactly.
And like,
I like what Trevor Francis is saying here. Handball replay should be viewed in real time speed because slowing it
that's
down,
a good point.
Slowing it down, anything looks criminal.
Definitely.
Why can't football go and sort of consult with cricket, rugby union, rugby league? Now, I feel that the video interjections into those sports through the review system, tries, whatever, it works so much better. And I think football, I'm sure that the people who run VAR at Stockley Park or wherever could go and speak to the ECB or the RFL or the RFU and say, look, let's get together. Can you just give us some guidance how we can go about it better? Yeah. So I think it's here to stay, unfortunately, but I think it could be used in a far more adroit way.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not against VAR. I think there are times, that it's helped us in the final last season. Let's not forget, by not going to it. But
Wolvie, sorry, can I just do an to come in on you there? What I would say, let's give some credit where credit's due. Goal line technology, I think, has been excellent. That has ever since Frank Lampard's ghost goal in the World Cup against Germany.
Yeah,
the goal line technology has been excellent.
That's where the issue is, Dave. The ball is either over the line or it's not.
It's not subjective.
With VAR is when they get involved in subjective decisions, when they're deciding whether it was deliberate or not. That's not their job.
But they are changing. Have you seen the Champions League offside, where it's almost virtual? That's coming in next season, I believe.
Stuff like that, we can all get on board with it because it's a matter of fact.
Yeah,
it's not an opinion.
Exactly. All right, let's move this on because, guys, as always, we've nattered away. Apologies that I'm keeping it. I do want to get onto the Arsenal game.
Radzi never stopped.
Radzi, we'll start with you, seeing that you're the chatterbox. Looking ahead to Arsenal, worried or confident? And guys in the chat, let me know, worried or confident? And get those likes up, guys. What are you lot doing just sitting there? I know I've got this beautiful panel here, but just very quickly, if you could hit that like button.
Shouldn't that say shitting yourself or deluded?
So, Rads, are you deluded or shitting yourself, in the words of Anna? And then we'll come on to Warren.
I'm sorry.
I won't use those precise words, but I'm a little. My dad might be watching as well, so I'll stick with Rads.
Love to Rad Dad.
Yeah, shout out to Rad Dad, you legend.
I'm more confident now what I was before Liverpool, after that Liverpool match, obviously, and obviously the part of the Brighton game. If we were playing, I've said it a few times actually, if we were playing Arsenal after we played that Leicester game, I'd be very, very concerned.
Yeah.
But now I have got belief that we, at the very least, won't go there and get completely outplayed. I think Arsenal have the ability to do that to us, the way they're playing, but I just don't really think they will right now. I do still think they probably will win because I think they are on another level right now. At the very least, a point would be unbelievable. Probably even more impressive than beating Liverpool, to be quite honest, especially away at Arsenal. I know Arsenal kind of slipped up against Southampton, albeit they didn't lose. That does give me a bit of a boost as well, the fact that they didn't beat a side that aren't much better than Forest, quite frankly. So yeah, I'm quietly optimistic, shall we say. But I'm also obviously not going to get too carried away and appreciate the fact that Arsenal are obviously a very, very strong side right now.
I'm shitting it. I'm not gonna lie. Wazza, make me feel confident because I'm going and I'm such a jinx. I'm such a jinx when I go to Forest matches.
God,
I
that's
mean,
all we
Dave will
need.
remember, my last game was the Man City game, and I convinced Dave it was going to be 5-2.
Ban him. Ban him. You're coming to Brentford as well, aren't you? Oh, pissing now.
Great.
I can't give you too much confidence. I think Arsenal at home is a different beast. They didn't play fantastic compared to how they normally play on Sunday. They were very poor second half. Well, I say they were very poor for them. You know, they were still playing really well. I'd be ecstatic with a draw, I'll be honest. Could we nick a win? Anyone can nick a win anywhere. You know, you can always dream. I think if we play like we did, I'd even be tempted. I don't think people will. I'd be tempted to play a 4-4-1-1 and pack the midfield and hit them on the break. But if we can hold out first half, you never know. We might sort of get under the skin in the heads. They might start thinking, oh, you know, Forest beat Liverpool. But going to Emirates, it's a different thing. I mean, they're unbeaten home this season, aren't they? So, you know, it's going to be tricky. Let's keep our fingers crossed. I mean, I take a draw because I think we can pick up points against Brentford and Palace in the last 2 games. So, yeah, a little bit of confidence maybe.
What are you saying? Win, lose, or draw? If early non-holding to you prediction. Oh, you're not echoing. Yes, good. Okay, I can leave you unmuted.
Brilliant. You can hear me laughing at Ant now. You can say probably in a good way, not in a nasty way. I say draw.
I'll bite your hand off for a draw. And being a Spurs fan, so you obviously hate Arsenal.
I want Arsenal to win. Hey. Right. Okay.
Take your Conte hat off for a minute and put your red hat on a Forest, right? Because I know there's bitter hatred.
Incidentally, Warren mentioned Garibaldi specs earlier on. Where did you get them from? Because they've got one at the
he can't find a hat and now he wants some specs. Bloody hell, Dave! Are they freaking telescopes or glasses? What's the lens on that?
Yeah. Well.
Before you got to admit, you've admired them this season. They're fantastic.
They're my favourite other side, if you like. You know, football-wise, from a football point of view. I've got down on my pre-prepared notes. Happy 2 points. Liverpool and Arsenal got 3 already. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we'd all have been happy with 2 points out of Liverpool and Arsenal. We've got 3, so. You know, we don't need to worry too much. I don't think we'll get hammered.
Wait, Anne, are you saying you're happy with the loss then? Because we're already a point ahead of what was happy for you.
No, not happy with the loss. I've put down also that I'd be quite happy with the team that we played against Liverpool, playing again. The only thing I might do is and this is no reflection on the players that I'm, thinking about could be swapped, is that I might play Dennis for J-Lings because Dennis has got that explosive power, and he is a good player.
Yeah.
Right. And the other one is, Wolverine, Loddy for Nico, maybe. Although Nico, again, it's no disrespect to the guys I'm looking at. These are just maybe changes that I would think of. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's only 2. Recently, Arsenal, the last 3 games, they've not been at their best. They've played well early on. If we can hold out for the first 20, 25 minutes, maybe there's a chance we can do something. The second halves, they've been poor. They're also playing PSV on Thursday. I think they're likely to play a strong side because then if they win, they top the group. That's very important. 2 less games to play against a Champions League dropout team. So they may play a strong side. So we may just get them a little bit jaded. And if we could hold out for the early part of the game, I think we have a chance of not losing.
Okay. I like what you're saying. Dave, do you want to see Ant raise him or fold?
I'm keeping the same 11 because psychologically, those 11 that started on Saturday, you did me a great job against Champions League runners-up. Go and do it against the league leaders. I'm really proud of you. So I'm not making any changes. I totally see Ant's point, and I think he makes good points. So I'm leaving Nico at left back. Just keep the same 11. I think if we get the Arsenal that beat Liverpool, it's going to be a mountain to climb. But if we get the Arsenal that somehow scrambled through the Leeds game, and we get the Arsenal second half at St Mary's, Forest, like they did at Brighton, if I tell you what, if Forest could frustrate Arsenal like they did Brighton, they might.
We get excited, Dave.
I think.
And it's not just that he's getting excited with 0 shots, man.
Pin back your, as Cyril Fletcher said, odd ode number 1. Pin back your goals. Arsenal 2, Nottingham Forest 5. So now I think Wolverine, what's your favourite score, mate?
That's the one. That's the one.
Yeah, I tell you what. Actually, seriously speaking, I think whatever happens, Forest will be far harder for Arsenal to beat than they might have been a couple of weeks ago. I think Forest's internal confidence, they should use that as a weapon. What they must take everything they can squeeze out of that Liverpool game and take it to the Emirates. I do believe that after Manchester City, this is the hardest task they'll have all season, because Arsenal are a happy team who've rediscovered their mojo. They, like us, stuck with their manager. I watched the Arsenal documentary and I came away impressed with their team spirit. I think that Saka is a fabulous player. Martinelli's playing well. Granit Xhaka's playing out of his skin. It's going to be an incredibly difficult task for Forest.
Stop naming players. It's not helping me.
You're bringing me down again, Dave.
I know.
Oh, you got me up there now.
Sorry, I fear. It's like I'm bipolar between optimism and pessimism. What I will do when Dor asks me or anybody else asks me, I have to now be pessimistic. Because from when I started being pessimistic, Forest have taken 4 points, right? Yeah.
That's what me and Ant have done in our Predictor League, and it's been working.
I tell you what, lads, I was on with Potsy in the 12-man football 12-man podcast, right? And they asked me prior to Brighton what I thought, and I said, Brighton, no. Liverpool, no. Arsenal, no. Brentford, no. Palace, no.
Get back on there, Dave. Get back on there.
Honestly, and ever since I stuck my neck out for it to have my throat cut, Forest, I reckon maybe Steve Cooper had a picture of me. Listen to this arsehole. Right. Steve Cooper went, basically, Forest, what it is, Forest sit there waiting for the Asprey prediction. If he predicts them to win, that's it. They don't bother to get changed. You just go out. Right. But I'm going to be pessimistic against the Arsenal because I believe in reverse psychology. But I tell you what, all I wanted on Saturday at first was respectability. And I think Forest can eminently go there and be difficult to beat. It's been the mantra. I mean, let's put it like this, chaps. There's 2 things, right? And I said this to Wolvie earlier in the day, and he agreed with me that it is bonkers. We're bottom, and we're only 7 points off Liverpool, who are 7th, right? And we are 1 penalty away from 4 unbeaten.
Yeah.
So, Forest have become harder to beat. And what I love about Steve was he liked the way he played in the Championship. He wanted it to adapt to the Premier League. It didn't. He then had the honesty to come out and say, I don't want us to play like this, but needs must. Yeah. And I think the only thing I would say that's going to add a little bit of level of difficulty to Sunday is that Arteta and Arsenal will be sat there in their meeting room and they'll watch the whole Forest-Liverpool game. And Arsenal will look at what Forest did so well on Saturday dinner time. And Arteta will... I tell you one thing, Mikel Arteta, intelligent, well-spoken man that he is, and his players, who to me seem a very grounded bunch now, even Granit Xhaka, who's leading their team really well, fair play to him. Fantastic. I think they'll look, and they will certainly not underestimate Nottingham Forest. Yeah. And so, if you like, the one thing I would say is Forest have almost taken away the element of surprise from next Sunday. But yeah, I think they'll go and they'll be a nuisance. Head says Arsenal will win, but it'll be narrow. I'll take a point now, honestly.
Yeah, I agree. Wazza, who scares you in that Arsenal team? Don't say all of them.
Um,
And then, where do you think their weaknesses?
Who scares me in the Arsenal team? I think an easier question to answer is who doesn't scare me in the Arsenal team. It's a really, really good young squad he's put together there. And as we've said earlier, they did the right thing because everyone was calling for his head beginning of last season, Arteta's head, and they stuck with him and he's brought through all these young players. And for me, it's a team that's going to be dominating for the next few seasons because they've got some great young talents there. I mean, Martinelli, Odegaard, Saka, Jesus, Xhaka, Saliba, Gabriel, the keeper, Ramsdale.
Stop.
Who doesn't scare you in that line? But that's not the point. The point is how well are we going to play?
Do you remember when Martinelli destroyed us in the FA Cup?
No, I remember Jed Spence having to leave him out of his pocket before he went down the tunnel at full time. I remember that. I think that was Spence's best game.
Was it League Cup? It might have been League Cup. 5-0.
Do you remember when we had to make a sub in the first half?
5-0.
Jack Colback at Saka.
Yeah. I thought that was
Spence. That happening this Sunday, though, Dave.
Carry on.
Sorry, go on, Warren.
Yeah, no, I disagree with that. I think that was Spencer's best game last season. He absolutely destroyed Martin. You could tell the frustration. And if you remember, Ant, the week before was when Arsenal played Man City, and Man City somehow beat them. I don't know how they did it. And the Man City manager, and I think it was Cancelo, came out after the game and said the best team didn't win today. And Martinelli was devastated against Man City, and I was scared to death. And Spence totally, utterly destroyed him that game.
You've not got Spence anymore, though.
We haven't, no, but we have got 11 lads who played their hearts out on Saturday. And if, like Dave said, if we stick with the team and they play like that again with that courage, with that belief, and we frustrate them, you never know what could happen. We could nick the draw. But what was your other question? I can't remember now. You said
I'll go to Rads with it. Rads, where do you think their weakness is?
It's hard to find a weakness right now in Arsenal. That's clearly
find a fucking weakness.
Thanks. Motivation.
It's all down to you now.
Hold on,
we lose, Rads. It's your fault.
He's waiting for your answer, Rads. Where's the weakness?
Well,
Stevie, he's
I'll
still thinking.
I'll just call Steve Cooper and
Stevie's waiting. He's waiting.
Yeah. I mean,
right, let me help
being
you.
exposed.
Is their left back their weakness?
Their left back.
Yeah, because they're not settled on it.
No,
they're not settled.
No, they've even got Zinchenko, Turney, Tomiyasu.
I'm glad you gave me a bit of a heads up there because that's actually a very good point. Tavares I haven't seen much of him.
He's on loan. Oh no, he's not.
So basically, they bought.
He's on loan. Tavares is on loan. They've got Zinchenko. They've got Turney, and they've got
been out as well, hasn't
who
he?
sometimes plays there.
Yeah.
So
maybe there, Rats. Maybe there. Help us, please. Can we do it outside?
Helping each other.
Which one of those three is the weak link?
I think the fact that they keep bouncing between them is a weakness because he's not settled on it.
I would agree with that. I think probably left back. If I'm going to have to pick a weakness in Arsenal right now.
So then, Rads, who do you play as our right winger? Do you go Brennan, bring him back in the team, or do you stick with Morgan Gibbs-White? Come on, I'm really grinding Rads with some questions.
You're getting all the hard questions, Rads.
I agree with
the most intelligent one here. Of course, I'm going to ask him the hard ones.
I keep the same 11, to be honest.
Yeah.
So I'd stick with what we had. Play Gibbs-White there.
Interesting. So, Dave, you said you'd stick with the same 11.
Yeah.
Rads, you'd stick. What would you do? You didn't mention.
The only thing I'd possibly change, like I said earlier, would play a 4-4-1-1 to really frustrate them. But I'm also torn with that because I do believe, like Dave said earlier, sticking with those 11 in that 4-3-3 is probably the best decision. Let them, continue. Try and get some stability, some consistency.
I hate to say it, but I agree with Ant. Which adds worry to me. I'd bring Lodi back in and I did think Lingard did well second time of watching it than I initially thought watching it. But Dennis, for me, he's so good. He's my new Freuler drum that I'm beating. Now that I've convinced everyone of Freuler being good, now I've got to turn my attention to Dennis. They would be my two changes. What I would say, guys, and I want to ask you this. I think Yates and Coyote, even though I think Mangala and O'Brien are the better pairing, for this matchup against Xhaka and Partey is one of the most underrated CDMs in the league, in my opinion.
He's fantastic. Partey is fantastic.
He just needs a run of fitness. Now, hopefully he pulls his hammy while we're talking, but he's a wildebeest, man. And he's part of the reason why I'd bring Lodi back in. Obviously, Lodi knows him from Atletico as an example. And then Freuler and Xhaka, as has been mentioned, I think already, Swiss internationals, they know each other's game. Oh, this is this is, you know how you say midfield wins the battle?
Can I just say that Wolverine and I agree on our team? So for God's sake, let's pray Cooper doesn't play that.
Yeah, because if we lose, we're screwed and our reputation goes down.
I think that my guess is that the game will be decided. Odegaard, Xhaka, Partey, Yates, Yates. No, hang on. Listen to me. Yates, Kouyaté, Freuler being asked to do exactly the same as they did on Saturday, because you know if you like Saka's quality, Martinelli's quality, but if Forest are going to get a foothold in the game, it's the battle between those two trios in the middle. So you know Freuler knows Saka, Partey, Yatesy, and Kouyaté and Partey. Yatesy stopping Martin Odegaard. You know, Forest. There's no reason on earth. Nottingham Forest have just beaten one of the great clubs on earth, right? A top 6 team. Nobody could see us ever beating one of the top 6. So Steve has got every right to go to the Emirates and say, if you can do it to Liverpool, why the hell can't he do it to Arsenal, right? I mean, logic suggests it's not going to happen. But if Yatesy gets about Xhaka and Partey and whatever, and Kouyaté plays exactly the same way he did on Saturday, and Remo goes about his business like he has done. To me, Remo's the new McGovern. You don't see a lot of what he does, but he does good stuff.
Yeah.
To me, I look at Freuler as a midfield McKenna. You know, the first rule of McKenna is you don't need to speak about McKenna. And it's going to be the way with Remo Freuler. The first rule of Freuler is you don't need to speak about it. I think Forest, they should not cast aside what they did on Saturday.
Yeah,
it's vital. It's the greatest thing they've got in their armory going to Arsenal, and Arsenal will be more wary now than they would have been before. So why not Steve say to him, go there and show to Arsenal that what they saw last week against Liverpool is no fluke and that you're capable of. I mean, what they've done, they've made a run for their own backs. I'm repeating myself, with Steve saying, if you can do that against Liverpool, I have every right to expect it against everybody else. And I think if in a way the blueprint for Sunday, isn't so much the Liverpool game. In a way, it might be the Brighton game.
Yeah.
Because what they did with Brighton, they were completely outclassed first half at Brighton. First 10 to 15 minutes of the second, Brighton were again dominant. But then that last half hour, Forest were still there, and Brighton were like, "What are they doing? Still here?" And then that last half hour, Forest actually, I thought, in hindsight, were relatively comfortable. And Brighton sort of gave off this aura that we thought this was going to be easy. They're the whipping boys. And Brighton then started to beat themselves. And if Forest can do that to Arsenal, then why not?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I do think.
You know what, Dave? You make a great point when you say about Yatesy. That midfield of Arsenal will not have come across Ryan Yates before.
No.
But the other point on that, and I'll ask Gorads about this. My youngest son supports Arsenal. I've been to the Emirates many times. I've seen.
You're a bad father. You're a bad father.
I am. And if he cries after the match, I'll be filming him crying for the vlog as well.
Give him a good idea. Needs a good.
And
It's a good
if they
idea.
beat us, I'll be leaving him at the Emirates. He can find his own way to Finsbury Park afterwards. Not my problem. He's only 11, the poor guy. Anyway, but the point I'm making, right, is that Arsenal.
11, he should be down the pit by now. What are you on about?
Shut up a minute. I'm making a serious point here. I'm about to give everyone hope. Okay. Arsenal traditionally always crack against physicality. Yeah, they've always got the pretty players. Yeah, I remember them going to Stoke and always struggling against Stoke when Stoke were back in the Premier League, and that became the blueprint on how to beat Arsenal. And they're only just coming out of that blueprint where people got physical against them, beat them in the midfield just by the physicality. Didn't have to be pretty football. I think if we can do, I hate Stoke and I hate to say it, but if you do a Stoke-like performance, like you were saying, Dave, the Brighton performance, as ugly and as much as I hated it, but you understand the necessity behind it. If we can just be ugly against them and really frustrate them, even for half an hour, because the problem we had when we went to the Man City match is we were 3-0 down after about 15 minutes, game over.
Yeah.
We have to still be in the game in and around half time. Yeah, and then let's just be ugly. I will take the ugliest not even 0 shots on target. I'll take 0 shots off target. Yeah, if we can come out of there with a 0-0, frustrating the crap out of them, for me, that's our best chance. Maybe we nick one on the counter attack, as Wazza was saying, but that's what I've got. That's where I'm at with it.
Hard to beat.
Yeah,
just be hard
I want to wrap up. I've just looked at the time, guys. Again, as always, we just start nattering away, and I look at I can't believe it's coming up to 11 o'clock. I'm so sorry. Let me finish with a round robin on the score predictions. Not holding anyone. It's still early in the week to it. Let's go around and do the score predictions, and then I've got a few shout outs on your socials that I want to do. And guys in the chat, get your score predictions in as well. Wazza, you're in the hot seat first. Just hit me straight up.
0-0, as the Americans say. A 0-0 for me.
Hand off. I'll bite your hand off. Dave.
1-1.
I'll take it. Rads.
There's two things going on here. There's head and heart, and I think part of me thinks it would be 2-3-1 Arsenal, but I'm going to go 1-1 as well.
I'll take it.
We'll just straight the hell out of the walk away with the point. Love it. Love to see it.
I'm gonna go 5-2 to Forest. Wait, what was the Man City score? 6-0. No, I can't go 5-2. Come back to me and score prediction. Just loose one. Where's your head at right now?
I'm going for the same prediction as Liverpool, so I'm going to go 3-0 Arsenal.
Okay, I like what you're doing. Psychological, reverse psychological one.
Absolutely.
All right. Let's see what the chat is saying. We're going to wrap up here as well. But I just want to bring Ez up because I've had a stern talking with Ez today. And I've told him I'm going to shout his channel out. Yeah. And he's going to produce videos starting this week, right? So Ez, I'm putting my reputation, not that I have anything left of it, on the line. Ez is going to be producing content this week, by the end of this week. So please go and subscribe to his channel. Omai will chuck it in the chat for you, but it's linked in the description below, as well as Warren's Twitter, Dave's Twitter, Ant's Twitter, and Rad's YouTube and his Twitter as well. Please, your homework right now, guys, is hit the like button and go and follow these beautiful gentlemen on all their platforms as well. And Ez, it's official. It's been said over the air. You and Joe, fingers out. We miss your content. It's good to see you guys getting the fire back in your belly, and I'm going to light the flame under your feet as well. And I'm going to keep on both of you this week. So, that's it from me. Wazza, closing statement from you. Anything you need to shout out?
No, thanks for having me on. It's been a pleasure. Gentlemen, chatting with you. And obviously, like you say, subscribe to Wolverine. I'm assuming everyone's watching now. Subscribe to Rads and subscribe to the Forest Fans Hub. Ez and Joe. I mean, Joe's been really busy, as we all know. It's going to be great to see those two lads back on doing some more videos. And up the Reds.
Up the Reds. Davey boy, any pearls of wisdom you want to leave us with?
Well, I'm just still buzzing from Saturday, and I just hope the buzz continues this week into Arsenal, and then on into, actually, to me, the more important games, Brentford and Palace. You know, Brentford have just lost 4-0. Palace have just been beaten 3-0. So, you know, Forest can go into those games. You know, if they could get something at Arsenal, I mean, that would be fantastic. But make sure the travelling fans make their presence felt. It's going to be a really good day down there. And yeah, shout out to all these channels that are going on: Wolvie, Joe and Ez, Matchday with Max, Door, Rads, 1865, Red Max. He's a top bloke. There's so many of you lads doing fantastic things. And worry not, because there will not be an Asprey channel. I say that every time. If I do have a channel, I'll probably call it 5-2, something like that.
Dave, you've got to. There's been so many people crying out in the chat for a Dave and an Ant channel. Maybe just combine your powers together. That would be.
I might do one, lads, with my old man, Dave and Razza. We might do that. He could just sit in his armchair with his walking stick and talk about football, me and my dad. But no, I love what you honestly, I love what you lads do, and it's so good of you to have me on. Just a silly old rambling fool like me. So thank you very much. Brilliant.
Hey, all I want on here are fans, and that's what us guys are. No one claims to be an expert.
Like Warren said, you Reds.
Yeah, exactly. And have a final rant on us.
I just hope we can keep this positivity going, because this is pretty much the best we've felt for quite a while.
Yeah.
And let's not get too downhearted no matter what happens against Arsenal, because as Dave said, the following two games are far more, not more important, but, you know, winnable. Let's be honest. I'm hoping we can do something against Arsenal. I believe we possibly can. But main thing is keep the positivity going. And I've got on my pre-prepared notes, I don't know if I mentioned them, the last thing I've got on there is shout out to all Forest YouTubers.
Yeah.
And I'd like to do that because all of the Forest YouTubers, no matter whether we agree or disagree, they're all giving us content that we all want to devour. You know, between match days, we're all wanting to see stuff. And these guys work so fucking hard. Trust me. I do a little bit on mine, and editing, it's a nightmare and stuff, you know. So, and particularly I have to say Wolverine, because he puts out videos every day. I don't know how the guy does it, you know. He puts out videos every day. So I'd like to give a particular shout out to Wolverine. But all the Forest YouTubers are all magnificent.
Yeah, and back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, we were Forest fans, and none of us were allowed the privilege to say our piece in this medium.
Yeah, look at me. I'm just a fan. I can come on in, I can chat with my friends, and we can, as Wolverine likes to say, it's like lads in the pub, we can talk bollocks, and it's all...
Yeah, exactly.
They're all brilliant, all of them.
And I want to echo before I jump to Rads, all the YouTubers, be it Dor, be it Jamie, be it me, be it Rads, be it Max, be it Red 1865. I'm missing loads out. There's loads of them, and especially the smaller ones who are starting up as well. They need your support, because it's really hard to stay motivated to really kind of grind out the content. So even if you're seeing the small channels, support them as well. It all just helps grow. And I've said it to these guys so many times, all I want is for us to have a bigger presence on YouTube, and together, working us guys together, we grow better, you know, with no division.
And there's room for everybody. That's amazing.
Let's have differing opinions. Yeah.
James Swain and
grow it together as a family.
Yeah.
Speaking of differing opinions, Rads, finish this off.
Yeah, everyone else has been saying really. Just I hope we can continue the positivity, belief. You know, it was incredibly low at one stage after that Leicester match in particular. I think we were all fearing the worst. To be fair, I'm finding it hard to concentrate with Dave in the.
I know we all
are. Yeah, I just hope we can keep
I kicked him. Oh, crap. Sorry.
Oh, no,
sorry, Rads, I've interrupted you. I accidentally kicked him. All right, he's back.
I just hope we can keep the positivity going and believe. And, you know, I think the key thing is if we do take a few more low moments, which will happen, we just pick ourselves back up, which, you know, the lads who play for us clearly have. You know, they could have easily have just had absolutely no belief at all after those 9 games we didn't win, and somehow we look like a totally different team. Second half against Brighton, obviously Liverpool, and that game could be a huge moment for us. So I just hope it continues. That probably won't be a smooth journey, but let's just hope it heads in the right direction overall. And I want to mention also, obviously, go and subscribe to all the Forest channels. We just want to continue to all grow and bring out the best content possible. It's always really enjoyable doing these forums and just having a chat about the club we all love. So that's pretty much it, really. And I don't know what's going on right now, to be honest.
I'm just annoying Ant's OCD. There's no excuse, guys. I've made it so easy for you because Rad's YouTube channel is in the title. It's a hyperlink. Just hit it if you're not already subscribed. One click, hit sub, done. Yeah.
I'm
Rad,
nearly 100 off
4,000
4,000 as well.
Sorry?
I'm nearly 100 off 4,000 subscribers. So,
guys, you can do that. There's still 100 of you in here while we're wrapping up. Go hit that. Let's get him to 4K ASAP. You got anything coming up this week, Rads?
Yeah, actually. I've got a video about Ryan Yates, actually. Now people slag him off. I've done it before. So I'm just going to do another one. And just,
I loved Rads, I loved your vlog, by the way, for the Liverpool match. Fantastic, mate.
Thank you very much.
Brilliant.
Get the makeup on Dave's for next time a little better. Cool. All right, we will wrap it up there, guys. We'll have the Daily Forest news. We have some news coming tomorrow as well. So we'll
hang on. I think I'm the host now. I'm in the top left. I think I'm
over to you, Ant.
So I'd like to thank everybody for coming on tonight and watching us and putting up with me in particular, because I do go off on one now and again.
Don't you need a co-host, Ant and Dave?
Ant and Dave, yeah. Wolverine, piss off.
He's gone.
Come back.
Come back, Wolverine.
No, my feelings are now hurt, mate. I'm not coming back. All right. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow on the Forest News. And on Thursday, we'll have the Predictor show where Ant's had an absolute stinker in the league. Omar's had a great week.
I know nothing about football.
Mate,
but again, I think I got the same as you.
Was it? You're in there, aren't you? I need Dave's and Rad's in there as well. Let's see how shit or good they are.
God, you know why? Wolverine, you know why? It's because I don't give a shit about other teams. That's why. So I just
it's because you don't know nothing. Stop making excuses, right?
I'm not sure you want me on. I've been 100% wrong every week.
Come on, Andy.
You'll boost us up.
That sounds like the qualification for entry.
Oh God! All right, boys, we're gonna wrap it up there. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow. Come on, you Reds!
You Reds!
You Reds!